Hi, everybody. How are you doing on today? I hope you're doing very well. I can honestly say that I'm doing very well too. I tell you what, I am truly grateful to have all of you here with me today. I tell you, it is such an honor and a privilege to be able to come into your presence one more time. And I would like to welcome all of you to another episode of TJ's Topics. And if you've been watching me all this time, then I'm sure you know who I am by now. I am TJ. That's me. And I tell you what, I am truly glad. Y'all just don't know how good it makes me feel to come on here and spend just a few moments with you. And as short of a time it may be, I find it to be such a grand experience. And I know that there are people who you may watch who have a much bigger platform than I have. Yet they may not make you feel as comfortable or as welcome as some of those whose platform is much smaller. I don't think it's all about the size of one's platform as much as it is about the quality and the sincerity. That's what it's all about. If you're sincere in whatever it is that you do, then I feel like you're going to be all right. And so again, I appreciate you for being with me. And I do want to discuss something on here today. And as we kick off the month of August, can you believe that it's August already? I mean, this year is going by very fast. It seems like yesterday we were around here um, dealing with all the snow and ice and stuff back in January and everything. And now here we are, we're burning up and can't drink enough water, and we're trying to stay hydrated the best we can, and oh man, it's a hot mess, literally and figuratively. But that's all right because we've made it this far, and I do believe that um, with a strong determination, we will make it all the way through. So, my topic for today is the detriment of being a people pleaser. That's what I'm talking about. The detriment of being a people pleaser. And I can tell you with all of I'm talking about everything, every ounce of my being, that being a people pleaser is never a good thing. I would know because I have lived the life of a people pleaser. In fact, for the majority of my life, I did everything I possibly could to please other people. I mean, I did some everything. But one thing I realized is it didn't get me anywhere. No matter what I did, how often I did it, how strongly determined I was to do it, how diligent I was in doing it. It never seemed to bring me any real satisfaction. I never found any fulfillment in the things that I did. And as we go through this conversation, I can elaborate a little more on some of the things that I did, and you may find yourself in situations like this as well, or you may currently be someone who's trying to please people or have been a people pleaser. Well, if you are or have been, then you know that the situation is very unpleasant. It's one that I would never wish on even my worst enemy. And you got a lot of folk out here who try to please folk, please others, and and they do all they can to try to put a smile on everybody else's face. And all the while they're doing that, they're frowning and they're sad on the inside, crying, hurting deeply, all because they are miserable. They are so displeased with themselves and the life that they find themselves living. It's the kind of life that no one should ever want to live, if at all possible. So, again, the detriment of being a people pleaser. If you find yourself playing the role of people pleaser, it could mean that you are known for doing any and everything in order to please other people and make other people happy, regardless of how it makes you feel or even how it makes you look. Your desperation to be viewed by others in a positive light is the driving force behind the majority of your decisions. Although kindness, helpfulness, and generosity are great attributes for a person to have, going too far to please others can and will leave you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and quite possibly financially depleted. Now, I can recall a number of occasions in my life, particularly when I was younger, where I went above and beyond the call of duty, trying to please a number of people around me. I'm talking about anything from, family members to co-workers. And despite all of what I did, I never had any real joy in it. I didn't find any satisfaction in it. And I always felt like I was compromising my integrity. In fact, that's exactly what I was doing. I was compromising my integrity and my own character. In other words, I wasn't being true to myself. And in doing all that, yeah, these folk, they may have liked me and accepted me at that time. But little did I know, I was only making a fool out of myself. One example is back when I first started working in the school district, and this has been quite a few years ago now, because this is my 16th year in the district. I met a number of women whom I won't say was attracted to. Well, they were attractive, but it's not like I was trying to get too involved with them. But what happened was, see, they used to like to go out a lot on the weekend. They used to like to hang out at these clubs and stuff. We had a little club here in town at one time where they used to like to go and hang out and socialize. And they had a karaoke at night and they wanted me to come and be a part of it. Well, I really didn't feel like going. I was tired. I'd had a long day at work and I just wanted to come home, take me a shower, eat me a little something and relax. Well, they kept on pressuring me. You need to come on and go to the club with us. You need to learn how to get out the house sometime. You don't do nothing but go to work and go back home, and that's all you do. You don't do nothing. Well, I mean, I was happy doing just like I was doing. If you done been at work all day, you you really don't feel like running around all night long. And I, for one, most certainly didn't. Now, mind you, I was in my late 20s, and that's usually the time in life when a lot of people tend to do all their wild stuff, kicking it with the fellas or, with the girls or whoever. But I just wasn't up to all that. But because I was trying so desperately hard to fit in and to be accepted by these group of people, some of whom I worked with at the junior high school at the time, I went on and, came in and washed up a little bit and got ready. And I was tired now. Don't mind you, I did not feel like going. But I went on and pressed my way, and oh man, it just, I just didn't, it wasn't any good. I felt like I did all that for nothing. And really, to tell you the truth, it was for nothing because, it's not like I gained anything from it. And here we are today, almost 15 years later, and all those people whom I went out with after work and hung out with and drank with and and ate with and everything, almost slept with. Today, we're not even friends. There's no closeness. I may see some of them out every now and then. They'll speak to me. I speak to them. But we're not close. So what good did it even do me to be running around in the street with them? Absolutely none. Being a people pleaser, I tell you, it's absolutely no good. Now, according to www.thevectorimpact.com, there are 7 consequences of being a people pleaser. In other words, there are 7 ways being a people pleaser makes life worse. Beginning with number 1, people will walk all over you. And I'm sure many of you have experienced that on numerous occasions. And I know I have. I've been walked all over by a lot of folk in my life, some of whom I was very close to. Number 2, you'll turn people off who would have otherwise liked you. And I know for a fact I've turned off a lot of folk. I think that's probably the reason why I have been single for all these years. Perhaps I may have ran across someone who could have been my mate. And because I was trying so hard to please all these no good jokers out here, whoever my mate would have been, my partner or whatever, they were turned off by that. Because when you're a people pleaser, you have a hard time thinking for yourself. And your potential mate, whoever he or she is in the crowd, amongst those people whom you are trying to please, when they see you doing stuff like that and seeing folk walk all over you and talk to you any kind of way and stuff, and you're not standing up and speaking up for yourself, that is an immediate turnoff to them, because they feel like if you allow those people to walk all over you, then quite possibly you'll allow them, the potential mate, to walk all over you as well. And that could be a problem in any relationship. Number 3, you'll attract the wrong people into your life, such as a bad partner, a bad spouse, someone who's absolutely no good for you at all, someone whom you have no business being with. And all they're going to do is pull you down instead of trying to lift you up. Number 4, people pleasing will make you feel like a fraud. Because remember, anything that's a fraud or fake, a hoax, it's not real. And a lot of people out here, especially in this day and age, tend to shy away from things that are real in a sense. With social media and its prevalence today in our lives, it's like we have a thing for fakeness, because a lot of what we see on social media is not real, but it's fake. And, people who claim to be living in these big old houses and stuff, all they're doing is just posing in front of them, claim to be driving these fancy cars, these sports cars and what have you. They're just posing in front of them. Or even claim to be making all this big money and all that kind of stuff, flashing all these big head hundreds and, and all that kind of stuff. They're just posing with it. That's all they're doing. They're probably holding somebody else's money. It may not even be theirs. Those people may not even be working, may not even have a place of their own. They're probably staying with somebody, may not even have a car because they probably don't even have their driver's license. So how in the world they going to have all that stuff and they don't even have the means to obtain it, because they're not living the life that is required to receive those things. All they're doing is trying to impress somebody, being a people pleaser. Number 5, you'll grow frustrated with the world and other people. And I know that to be true because I've been there a time or two myself. Number 6, other people will grow frustrated with you. Oh man, I've had that experience many times in a number of situations and places. People got tired of me. See, one thing I've discovered is that I don't care where you are, it doesn't take long for you to wear out your welcome. And that's one thing that I try my best not to do anywhere. No matter who it is, no matter what the atmosphere is like, no matter how much I like the people and the setting that we find ourselves in, it's never a good thing for you to wear out your welcome. Just like we showed up and showed out, there's also a time for us to stand up and walk out. In other words, we got to know when to leave the party, because the party is not going to last forever anyway. And just like honeymoons, they don't last forever. All that excitement at the beginning, that stuff wears off. And then that's when real life begins. And you find out exactly who that person is that you're with. And finally, number 7, being a people pleaser prevents you from living an authentic life. And authenticity is one thing that I strive for as much as possible. May not get it right all the time, and of course none of us are perfect, but as long as we do our best, that's all that matters. As long as you do your best, then you don't have to worry about anything else. Everything else will work itself out. Now, in closing, there are 7 groups of people whom we try our very best to please. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. Really, most times it doesn't work out because, again, being a people pleaser doesn't get you anywhere. And I don't care who it is that you're trying to please. At some point, they are going to realize what you're doing. And they're going to find fault in whatever it is that you're doing. They're going to find fault in you. instead of looking at themselves, because, they have faults themselves, but they'll point out all the faults in you and so and everybody else instead of looking in the mirror. That's why I often say that the only devil any of us will ever have to worry about is the one who stares back at us when we look in the mirror. 7 groups of people whom we try to please, and they are: number 1, family. And as one of my late cousins said, kinfolk are the worst ones to deal with. And he was absolutely right. Family, I'm talking about parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, siblings, cousins, in-laws, etc. You can't please those people. I don't care what you do. They're always going to find something wrong with the way you live, with the way you dress, the way you talk, the way you walk, how you make your money, the education you have or the lack thereof, who your mate is, your partner, your spouse. They find fault with them. What kind of car you drive. They find fault with that. You'll never be able to please those people. So the best thing to do is just live your life. Live it on your terms. Try to do the best you can to please yourself. And I believe you'll be much better off in the long run. Number 2, friends, whether old or new. And they can be people that you've known a long time, may have known since childhood, or some people that you just met recently. And you want to be accepted by them. You want to bring them into your circle. So that way you'll have more of a network to interact with. And, and in doing so, that enlarges your territory, and it opens doors for you, but not at the expense of your sanity and your peace of mind. I mean, if all that all that has to be sacrificed in order for you to have friends, then hey, I said forget the friends. Because peace of mind is something that money can't buy. Number 3, classmates, and they range from preschool to post-secondary education. And I know for a fact that I tried to please a lot of folk in school. I tried to make them laugh. And that's one reason why I always had a thing for entertainment. When I was a child, I sort of wanted to go into entertainment, but I really didn't have the means or the, I really didn't know about how to get involved with it. And living in the area where I live, I didn't have access to any major resources or any connections. But I used to idolize a lot of people on television. And so I used to like to entertain folk, especially my classmates and stuff. But nah, that didn't get me anywhere. So number 4, co-workers or colleagues. And I just discussed that. All the people I've worked with over the years and all the people whom you work with, whether in the past or present, you can't please them. You'll never be able to please them, no matter what you do. So the best thing to do is just go to work, do your job, get your paycheck, and go on back to the house. I guarantee you'll feel better in the process. And if you want to hang out with somebody, hang out with yourself. Take yourself out to dinner. Go out to a movie yourself if you want to. If you want to play the slots, or if you even want to check into a motel, you can do that. You don't have to have anybody with you. You can do a lot of things by yourself. Not only will you have peace of mind, but you'll save a few bucks too. Number 5, neighbors. Oh man, you know, I grew up in a time when neighbors were very much like family. You know, I remember the time when neighbors, they, everybody knew each other. You know, neighbors treated you like family. They didn't mind feeding you. You know, if you wanted something to eat, they had extra food. They fixed your plate. If you needed to ride somewhere, they would take you. If you needed to borrow something, you know, whether it was washing powder or bleach or coffee or sugar or milk or eggs, anything, they loaned it to you. Basically, it wasn't a loan. They were giving it to you. They just said loan. We always said, can I borrow a cup of sugar? Can I borrow some washing powder, some bleach and whatever? But we were really asking them, could they give it to us? And they didn't mind. They would. You know, they were real neighbors. Neighbors looked out for one another back in those days. And I miss that. You know, life was so simple, but not anymore. Number 6, church members and church leaders. If I had to sit here and talk about that, I would have to do a whole nother episode on just that category right there. Trying to please the folk in the church. Man, I'm telling you, they are some of the biggest hell raisers there ever was. Church folk, you know, they always stayed on me about everything. You know, wanting to know when I was going to learn how to drive, you know, when I was a teenager. When I was going to go to school, go to college, and when I was going to graduate from college, when I was going to get a job, and when I was going to buy a new car, you know, and the biggest one of all, when I was going to get married. They definitely want to know that. And here I am today at 43 years old, and I'm still not married. Never have been. Don't have any children. They wanted to know all these things about me, but they had their own problems to focus on, things that they needed to fix in their own lives. While they was busy running my business, their business was all every which way, across the county line and the state line and on the other side of the country and everywhere else. But because I was trying to please them, I ended up doing a lot of things that and going a lot of places that I should have never been or done to begin with. And finally, number 7, those whom we've been compared to, but particularly the people who did the comparing. And I can go back up through numbers 1 through 6, and that'll pretty much sum all that up. Because I never appreciated being compared to anybody. And I'm pretty sure that you all feel the same way. How does it feel when people compare you to somebody else? You know, so-and-so, one thing I can say about so-and-so, they did this. Or one thing I can say about them, and they you know, being compared to other people, it doesn't feel good. You know, everyone has to do their own thing, be themselves. And we can't be like somebody else. We can't do like them because they're their own person. So the best thing for us to do is to be our own person. And I think we'll be better off for it. And to not try to please other people either, because you'll never be able to please them. They're always going to find something wrong with us or what we do or don't do. They're going to talk about you regardless. Clean on up until you leave this world. People are going to always have something to say about you. So those are my thoughts on the detriment of being a people pleaser. And I'm here to tell you, being a people pleaser, is one thing that will land you in a puddle of sadness, disappointment, frustration, and total misery each and every time. So, how do you feel about being a people pleaser? I'm sure that many of you have had experiences where you did all you could to try to please people, but you didn't come to a good end. And believe me, you never do. So, anyway, I don't want to take up any more of your time. So I'm going to cut it right there. And I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of TJ's Topics. And in doing this podcast, I'm not trying to be a people pleaser because I know that my podcast may not garner as many views or likes or, as some. And that's fine because I'm not worried about trying to please everybody in the United States or please everybody in the world. I find pleasure in doing this just really for the heck of it because, I started doing this during the pandemic and and it was fun just to be able to learn how to do YouTube. And I really got a kick out of it. So I thought I'd try to develop a brand for it. And here I am. So I want to thank you one more time for tuning in today. And I really enjoyed being with you. And please join me again next time for another episode of TJ's Topics. I look forward to seeing you then. So until then, this is Taryn Jerome Harris, reminding you that every round goes higher and higher. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.